that to them.
There's an error.
Did she bring a hard copy as well?
There's an option in this statute.
Copy of it. That would be.
That was selected somehow, but it wouldn't stop the recording.
I don't think she
Okay,
normally
thank
puts
you.
a hard copy, but for whatever reason.
Okay, I want to welcome everyone to our February 5th meeting of the County Commissioners. We'll start a meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll begin our meeting with our County Attorney, Matt Shipman.
Thank you. I only have two things really to report on, one of which is follow-up with the Inwilligent lawsuit that we filed. We did get the judgment in the amount of $80,000 against Inwilligent. As I think I discussed in the previous meetings, we haven't been able to find any assets here in Indiana to be able to go and attach that. I do believe they potentially have assets in Florida. So the question is, we have the judgment. What if any, action do you want to take going forward? And as I was thinking about it, one of the things that sometimes lawyers will do with collection cases is take them on a contingency fee basis. I know the county is reluctant to spend more money on this, and so I guess my thought would be, if you're so inclined, is I think I know he's in the Miami area is where likely this guy, if he has assets, will be. If you would like me to make some real preliminary inquiries to see if I could locate an attorney that would take it on a contingency fee, that would be, maybe a good way to, to at least try to pursue it, but not spend any more money if it doesn't come to anything, which I think, frankly, is likely the outcome. But
Yeah.
I just need further direction, really, from you guys on that.
I'd make a motion that way, let him see if he can find somebody who'll take it on a contingency basis.
Okay, we've got a motion to put it on a contingency basis.
I'll second it for discussion
Second for
purposes.
discussion.
But probably the chance of ever getting the first nickel is pretty scarce, right? Would you agree?
I wouldn't bet a nickel you'd get a nickel, definitely. I mean, I think that's probably true. And that's why my suggestion was if we could find a decent law firm that would be willing to pursue it on a contingency fee, at least you wouldn't have any more money wrapped up in it. If they were able to collect anything, you'd get a percentage of it, but if they don't, it doesn't cost you anything else.
But usually a 30%.
Probably what my thought was is that I would try and get a couple of options and bring them back to the next commissioners meeting, and then the board could consider those and pick which one, maybe if I can get multiple responses. But I won't do anything other than gather the info and bring it back to you. But
As of now, we're getting zero.
Yeah, I mean, as of now, you got a $80,000 piece of paper. It's not worth probably.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Thank you. The only other thing I wanted to give
If you have to fly to Miami, though, do you think a commissioner ought to go along with you?
Absolutely. And I'll make sure I call you first, Don.
Yeah. Alphabetically.
Yeah, by alphabetical. The only thing I wanted to give you an update on is as you guys are aware, there was a lawsuit filed challenging the Lopez's confined feeding operation. That is currently pending because it got venued to DeKalb County. And we have our kind of first initial everybody get-together status conference, February 21st. From there, we'll set deadlines and dates and that sort of thing. And I'll be able, I guess it'll be 2 meetings, but after that session, I'll be able to give you some timelines of how that's progressing. Both Dawn and I are involved in that because not only are you guys, but the Planning Commission is. So Dawn Boyd is also, as well as the Lopez's individually, have their attorney who's been with them the whole way. She's kind of taking the lead to a certain extent on defending it.
So you're not willing to guess on a timeline or anything at this time?
I would be guessing because I don't know the court schedule, but my guess is that within the next 3 to 4 months, I think it'll probably be set for trial. I think everybody's anxious to get it over with. And I think from the conversations preliminarily that I've had, there may be enough interest in the outcome that no matter what happens, it may get appealed. And so many times from the plaintiff's perspective in that case, you really just get the case over with, and the Court of Appeals is where you think you're going to make your hay. So I think that's the plaintiff attorney's opinion in this case, is that typically the lower court will just affirm the decision, and that if anything happens, it'll happen at the Court of Appeals. So they just want to get to that next step. It's kind of all, I'm not sure at this point, but that's my guess is how it'll play out.
So in this, the county's getting hooked twice for two different organizations that's paying these bills.
Yeah, both the Board of Zoning Appeals as well as the commissioners are definitely defendants. And as a result, both attorneys for each organization are participating.
So that's both coming out of county general.
I don't know for sure about the BCA's funding and for their attorney, but my suspicion is that's correct.
Anything else?
No, I don't have anything else unless you guys have questions for me about anything.
Did you get the tort claim for the motorcycle accident on US 30? I forgot to look to see if your name was on there. I hope it was.
Oh, we did.
Angie sent it to
When
us.
did that one? Yeah.
You did.
I'm sure I did.
Because we need to get out of it as soon as we can.
Well, with the, as you guys know, with the tort claims, you send notice to everyone and
Yep,
their brother,
yep,
okay?
yep.
And the actual lawsuit typically is a way pared down version of who might be responsible, but when you're initially investigating those, you just don't know, and so we likely won't get sued. It's just they sent us the tort claims in case, I think it's an INDOT is likely.
It is.
It's likely, in case INDOT says, hey, it's not our responsibility, it's the county's, that's why they did that.
What was that, Angie?
We have 2 tort claims for US 30 right now, and one was a motorcycle.
The other one was high
It's
and
the
low or
level,
something.
it's the level of the road. Okay.
It just feels so good.
Long and black, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So, when we get those, I'm sure you guys know this, but we just forward those on to the insurance company and have them give us reports if anything happens or
Okay.
changes. And on both of those, nothing's happened other than Angie and I coordinating it with Angie Hayden over at Star. So,
I have nothing.
Tom, did you have anything?
No, I don't have any more at this time.
Thanks, man.
yep, no problem.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we've got Scott Wagner, Health Board replacements.
End of this last year, Liz Hill and Carol Gralick resigned their position on the health board. They've been there for many years, and the health board voted in end of January to replace them with and Margaret Malcolm, one Republican, one Democrat, as the ones that were resigned. So I just need somebody to sign and date there. I didn't realize they both live in Westgate, so.
Do we need a motion to approve that?
Do we need a motion to approve these or just sign this?
Motion and then sign them. Please.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve these 2 nominees from the Board of Health, or the Health Board.
Got a motion to approve the nominees as presented?
I'll second the motion.
Got a second? Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Pardon me?
Did you have any other questions for me while I'm here?
No, I don't think so.
There you go.
Thank you.
Lana, Beregszazi, Whitley County Regional Water and Sewer District status.
Okay, so I apologize that I only have 3 of these little handouts, but a lot of this is going to be repeat for Don and for Matt, who've been participating in some of our RSD meetings.
I've seen it, yeah.
And it's been a year, I think, since we, just over a year since we signed the contract to go ahead and get started with the regional sewer district, so I figured it was probably a good time to give you guys a status update. So a quick recap on 2017. We spent 2017 doing a lot. We weren't in all the commissioner meetings, but we have been really, really busy. We met with all of the other treatment providers throughout the county, including Columbia City, Cherubusco, South Whitley, Tri-Lakes, and Aqua, Indiana. The only one we missed was the Blue Lake Conservancy District, but they're not technically a treatment provider, so I met with them a little bit in arrears.
Lana, excuse me just a minute. Can everybody hear back there?
Okay, I'll try to talk louder.
You can bring it closer to
Yeah,
you.
Mike.
How's that?
All right.
Okay. We've also been doing a little bit of preliminary project initiation activities. Of course, we're not a regional sewer district yet because we don't have our charter, so we can't actually move forward with any projects. What we can do is engineering studies and preliminary design activities. We can reach out to the communities and meet with them and kind of get a feel for what they're wanting to do moving forward, but we can't move any projects forward until we actually have a chartered organization and we can get financing in place. But we have been doing a lot of that, and the idea there is that we, when we do get our charter, we can hit the ground running. We've already got 6 or 7, it's probably going to be more like 4 or 5 project areas that we move forward in 2018. The finance deadline is June, so if we had started those activities when we got the charter, we would never have made any kind of project financing deadlines in 2017. So that was the idea there. Project areas, I know Don and Matt, you guys are pretty aware of what's going on there, and I'll brief the other 2 commissioners on that here in a second. But we spent a lot of time working on the IDEM petition, which is basically a legal document that you submit to IDEM for the formation of a new regional sewer district. And we had to get a lot of addendums to that. We had to do a lot of notifications. There was a public meeting required. That public meeting had to have specific notice and it had a lot of requirements for 2 radio stations, recurring notice on the radio stations. It also required that we have 2 newspaper publications, which we did, and then we had to send out invitations via U.S. mail. That was a newer requirement that we weren't aware of, which caused a little bit of a delay in getting the petition completed and getting all of the steps done. That requirement has only been around for a few years. I understand it originated after Wells County was formed. But that being the case, after we submitted a map of what would be our requested service area, IDEM came back and said that we would have to adjust our service area based on the people that we actually notified during that process. And Matt and I have gone back and forth about the interpretation of that because it is a new requirement that IDEM said that you have to do that public notice. So they weren't quite sure how to interpret it either. And basically what we have here is an approved petition with a modified service area, and that service area consists of the people whom we notified via U.S. mail for that public meeting. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't service the rest of the county. It doesn't mean we can't service the rest of the county right now if people request it, but what it does mean is that we can't enforce connections or enforce projects in areas that don't request it of us that are outside of our service area. Now, if we do want to serve an area in the future that's not part of that original area, we simply need to petition for an expansion, and that's a pretty simple process. It's similar to the original petition process, but just much faster. It's maybe 30 to 60 days, and there's a public hearing similar to the one we'll talk about now. So, status and the formation of the RSD, which is I was kind of already getting into here. As I said, they have approved our petition. They have approved our service area, and they are in the process of setting up a public hearing. That public hearing is their version of a public meeting. That public hearing is orchestrated and coordinated by IDEM. There'll be an IDEM representative who comes to the venue and reads through the petition and then requests that anyone who would like to make a statement either verbally or written, either for or against the formation of the regional sewer district, will have an opportunity to do so. So that should be happening in the next 30 days. They have to go through that same notification process. There'll be newspaper publications, there'll be postings, I think, here at the government buildings, and then there'll also be radio notifications.
Location?
They were asking for a venue idea from us. We suggested Columbia City High School.
Okay, so these people don't have to go to Indianapolis then?
No, that'll be here in Whitley County.
Good. That's always kind of a bad deal if you have to go to Indianapolis.
Yeah, and they've done that before, but they're planning on having it somewhere here in the county, either at an elementary school or a high school.
Okay.
There's usually not a lot of people that go to these, but you have to have a venue that would accommodate the number of people who could, which could be thousands technically, if you're looking at it from a legal perspective. So that's in the works, and I'll make sure to keep you guys up to date when that's being scheduled. And I'm going to request that at least one county commissioner make a statement at that public hearing.
Is everybody looking at me?
Because you're on our board also.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so once that public hearing happens, there's 30 days for receipt of written comment. People, if they don't want to get up and speak, they can send in written comment, although spoken comment is usually taken as a little bit stronger from what I've seen. And then they should give us our charter for the formation of the organization unless somebody brings up a major legal reason or other reason that would cause IDEM to believe that regional sewer district should not be formed. And then we get a charter, and then we're an official organization. So as Don and Matt are aware, we have been holding board meetings. Those board meetings have been unofficial, although we have been announcing them publicly because we're not, we're trying to get the board to understand the process. And a lot of it's just been training the board, who have never been on a regional sewer district board before, how the process works. We've been working through discussing the areas we've been researching and the status of our IDEM petition and things like that. And if you're not aware, the board is made up of Don Amber, Brooks Langelo, Todd Nichols, Randy Kokel, Chad Nix, Frank Kessler, and Walt Crowder. That's our board. So we have a fully assigned board, and we've got pretty good attendance even at our unofficial meetings, so they've been pretty participative. Those meetings are the third Tuesday of every month at 5:30 p.m. right here in this room. And we're going to continue to do that as these meetings become they're already public, they're open to the public, but official, I guess, where decisions are made that actually impact projects moving forward. Quick review on current cost of budget, just because I haven't been here for a while, and I know that you guys probably see invoices on the payment tabs, and you're wondering what we're doing, so I'm telling you what we're doing, and then I wanted to update you. The commissioners did agree to fund the formation of this organization, which is a non-reimbursable cost, and we are actually 50% under budget for the advocacy activities if you consider year one and year two what was put aside for that. I've got this in two cost categories. One is the overhead and formation, which is non-reimbursable. That's what the county has agreed to put in to form this. And then the other is project development. Project development is originally funded by the county commissioners, but you can kind of consider it alone as long as the projects move forward. The costs that are incurred in these areas for project development are put into the total project costs that we submit for on our SRF financing application, and when those portions are reimbursed, then we can reimburse the county for those costs. So you can see that we tag our costs by project area, so you can even see each project area how much money is being spent. Right now, it's just for meetings, and we've also started doing some preliminary investigative reports, so there's some engineering costs starting to be rolled in there as well, which are all reimbursable if and when a project moves forward. If they don't move forward for a while or years, that's still reimbursable, but it's not reimbursable until there's funding in place for that particular project. So, and you can see from that list there that we do have about 6 project areas. The Tri-Lakes area, we've spent some funding, but we stopped on that one because Tri-Lakes is pursuing expansion on their own in that area, so we cease and desist on the spending there. So, project areas we've been looking at. The south and west sides of Cherubusco. That originally was one project area. We split it into two because we could very easily move forward with one and not the other, but we're still meeting with the residents and discussing it as one, but technically it's two project areas. Blue River Estates, and keep in mind, all of these projects are going to have to connect to an existing treatment provider because we're not going to be building any kind of wastewater treatment plants or anything like that. So Cherubusco obviously connects to Cherubusco if that project moves forward. Blue River Estates, that's an addition up here on 9, that would be a connection to Columbia City. We have had a PIR community meeting with that area, so we've had 2 meetings with that area and gone through the survey process, and we'll be presenting the results of that survey at the March RSD board meeting to see whether or not the board wants to move forward with that project. Small project area, Dunphy on East County Line Road, that's a pretty straightforward one. There's existing infrastructure right there from Aqua, Indiana, so likely will be an easy small project to move forward. As I mentioned, Tri-Lakes, we had an original informational meeting with a couple of communities up there, but Tri-Lakes is currently pursuing that on their own, the Tri-Lakes Sewer District. And then the other large area besides Cherubusco is the community of Stable Acres and the small town of Laud. Those two, we're pursuing them together because if they're done together, they're actually much more cost effective because you have more homes and you've got to go a long way to sewer Laud over to Micropulse. So both of those are in the preliminary engineering research report phase. So that's where we're going with that. So on the horizon, first round of projects. I mentioned what we're looking at here. I will note that Stable Acres and Laud is going to require a service area expansion request, but we're not going to have an issue with that. We didn't send them letters for the public meeting. We did have an informational meeting with them, and everyone was obviously invited to that, but we would need to petition IDEM for an expansion request if we wanted to service that area. And one I didn't mention in the project development cost, because we haven't incurred any yet, is Donatello's Village, which would be a water project spurred by that house fire that happened late last year. And then potentially related to the SDI project, the Beamers and Marathon Station and Subway restaurant there could potentially be Whitley County RSD customers. So we're looking into that from that perspective. And one thing I wanted to bring up here, the two major things I wanted to bring up here, first of all, is the 2018 PER package. We do not have a budget for a PER, and a PER is basically a finance, there's a financing effort, there's an engineering effort, and there's a management effort that needs to be done to submit a package to SRF for financing. It's a standard thing. It can be done really by any number of engineering and finance people. I'm proposing that we add it as a line item onto our existing contract. It would be orchestrated by BCS management, but I would obviously have to use somebody like Umball and an engineering group to get that done. That is a reimbursable cost as well. Basically, we take all the projects that we believe may move forward this year and we put them in a package and submit them to the Indiana Finance Authority for grants and low interest loans to finance the projects. So somebody has to put that together. So it's going to need to get started probably March or so, March or April, really. And April will be starting to cut it close. But I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention and then talk about how you want to go about doing that.
You have a cost estimate?
It's between $35,000 and $45,000. Okay. Yeah, and I think George, you might recognize that number from the estimate that Donahue provided to Columbia City. It's a pretty standard process, but somebody has to do it. Okay. The other major thing I wanted to bring up is Indiana House Bill 1233. I know I sent you guys an email about this, and it's a large bill, and it's mostly just making regular updates to nomenclature and things like that. But one thing in Section 9 that it does call out is that it adds language that requires any regional sewer district board of 7 or more have 2 ratepayers on the board. Any board of 9 or 11 or 13 has to have 3 ratepayers on the board. What it doesn't say is who has to give up their election, or what county or city organization has to give up their appointment to that board. And what it also doesn't take into account is how many ratepayers a regional sewer district does have. A lot of regional sewer districts, and there's over 100 of them throughout the state. A lot of them have under 100 ratepayers. Right now, the Whitley County Regional Sewer District has 0. So it's actually impossible to meet that requirement at this point. And by
It's not really true, is it? Because I am.
you're not a regional sewer district ratepayer.
Sewer district. Well, because we haven't been formed.
Well, no. If you are a ratepayer of the Whitley County Regional Water and Sewer District, meaning you get a bill from the Whitley County Regional Water and Sewer
That
District.
hasn't happened yet.
That's correct.
I got you.
Yep.
I got you. So, yeah, you're right, we're 0 then.
We have 0 ratepayers. Yep.
Okay.
What it also doesn't take into account is that running a regional sewer district requires people who have, a lot of times the appointments you're looking for, someone who has the competence in various areas, whether it's financial or infrastructure or engineering, or people who have an interest in the communities that we would be working with. That's why we have appointments from Columbia City and South Whitley and Cherubusco. This should be looking out for their constituents, who would be the ratepayers, as well as the county appointees. And so, you know, I'm asking that, and we've been working this from a lot of angles, that you reach out to your local senator. A phone call would be preferred, and just ask that they remove that piece, which is going to cause regional, if it passes through regional sewer district boards across the state, to be scrambling to figure out who they're going to kick off their board and who they're going to keep and who's going to want to actually show up to board meetings. So that's a request there. Consider what your perspective is on it, but that's our request from the Regional Sewer District Advisory Board. And then, so basically, in summary, I've got 3 requests of you. One is, can we get some sort of feedback on how you'd like to approach the 2018 PER package funding? Now, you know we have a 3-year budget, but if we fund it out of that, it's going to take away from future projects, funding, potentially getting started, and it is reimbursable, so note that. I want to ask that somebody, or you talk amongst yourselves and decide who would like to speak at the IDEM public hearing when it's scheduled. And then finally, if you're willing to reach out to your local Indiana senator about House Bill 1233, Section 9, to reconsider that piece that's been added to require ratepayers be on a board. Questions?
No.
That's enough? Okay.
Guess the only thing we have to consider right now is that the funding request for the PER package, that to determine, we do have some monies left in the budget. But like you said, at least that takes away from what we can do.
And that's not reimbursable.
It is reimbursable.
No, I mean, what we've already...
No, it is.
It's not, is it?
Yes, yes, it is. So what you
Oh.
see here in the cost table, which mine's all stretched out.
Okay.
The top part, which I'm calling overhead, not reimbursable. That's county's contribution. The part down here under by the project area is all reimbursable if a project moves forward. And the PER is reimbursable. So in that overhead number that you see for the formation, you're going to see that dwindle because we're there. So really we're becoming much, much more project focused this year on reimbursable items.
Yep. Okay.
So we'll have to determine how we're going to fund that then.
Yep. Oh, and one other small thing I'd mentioned to you, George, is just mailings. It's not a huge expense, but the printing and the envelopes and all of that for all these areas, it's starting to add up. So if we can find a low-cost printing solution or something that's available at the county or something that we can use to reduce the cost there, that would be great.
That happen to be reimbursable?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve funding of the 2018 package from seeded funds as well as help with the postage, provided they're reimbursable.
Okay, do we want to determine a cost?
I didn't know how to do that. I wasn't sure. I guess we can always.
Do you have any idea on that?
It's up to $45,000.
No, I mean on the mailing, the postage.
Oh, the mailing? Well, I'm including that in our project-related costs right now, but they weren't budgeted for originally. Right now, you've spent $1,800 on postage, but that's going to just keep going up every month. We have taken an initiative to start an email campaign option where people can have email correspondence instead of mailed correspondence, which is going fairly well and helping to reduce that cost. But for now, it's just being wrapped into the reimbursable project-related costs. But it's something to, if you can offer a solution that's more cost-effective. I don't really need funding. I just need a means of doing this more cost-effective manner.
Okay. So we're looking at $45,000,
That's
possibly
that would-
between $35,000 and $45,000 for
I
the
would
PER
change
package.
my motion to.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve
45,000.
funding from our seeded funds for a PER package that up to $45,000.
Second.
Got a second? Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you, Lana.
Oh, I would volunteer to be the speaker unless these guys want to do it.
Yeah, I was going to volunteer him anyway, so.
The IDEM public hearing, does that also require a mailed notice?
Yes. Well, actually, don't cite me on that. That's IDEM control, so we have to reach out to IDEM to understand what their requirements are. I think their requirements of the regional sewer districts are more stringent than the requirements on themselves. I'm not sure.
Which explains why nobody shows up to the hearings because nobody knows about it. Okay.
It'll definitely be in the paper.
Pardon me?
It'll definitely be in the paper.
Right, which is why nobody shows up to the public hearings because a lot of people don't. That's my point. If you're
Talk to your legislature
if you're a
about
ratepayer,
that's
I mean,
it.
if you're a potential ratepayer and you own property, you ought to have an official notice mailed to you. Okay. Question. Each member of the board, are they at least a resident of a potential sewer district? So they have skin in the game?
Well, they're all residents of the county.
I understand that.
And some of
But
them
the
live
county's not the
within,
ratepayer.
some of them live within potential project areas that are being researched, and some of them do not. So the board is made by appointments. So each of the cities or the treatment providers throughout the county, as well as the county commissioners and county council, make an appointment. Board appointment to be a ratepayer or in a potential project area. The idea there is that the person appointed is going to have the best city or county official in mind.
Okay. Kim Erdly, who's our county assessor. Thank you.
I'm on the agenda to go to council tomorrow on these couple subjects here. First one being for the deputy in the assessor's office and their salary. I was unaware when I took the position of assessor that that particular position's pay was not at the Comet 2 level, according to experience and the fact that when the cyclical reassessment started that the state put upon us back in 2013, that job description that held with that deputy position was clear back from, I believe, 2009. So those added responsibilities for that cyclical reassessment duties were not in that job description, along with the fact that With the assessor's office, we're required to have additional state certifications that some of the other offices do not have to have, being an elected office, that is. And so I'm asking for an additional, it's going to be $1,649 a year to her annual salary to bring her up to that base of that .2. And she's paid out of the reassessment fund, is where her income comes from. It's not paid out of the general, it comes out of the reassessment fund. That being the first item, and then the second being that with the employee that is going to come in eventually as the chief deputy, she has to receive her level 1 and level 2 certifications before she can take over the position of the chief deputy. So in the assessor's office, we only currently have one deputy position that is budgeted, being the one that Tammy holds. And we have the salary there for the chief deputy's salary, so there's not going to be any additional funds that are going to be asked for. But in order to move off of that line item out of the chief deputy's salary to pay the new deputy, because she's going to come in as a regular deputy, Vicki had suggested that we create a temporary deputy position for this purpose alone until she receives both of her state certifications, and then we would no longer have the need for that temporary deputy position. So then that way we've got a proper flow there in where that money is coming from, why it's coming from there, and to where it needs to go.
I think I understand a lot better with this now, where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
The chief deputy funds do come from general fund?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
but
do come from the general fund.
But the deputy does not?
No.
It comes from reassessment
Yes.
funds? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Something else that we're getting into, and you'll want to pick up on this from now on, is we no longer look at their salary. We look at salary plus perks. So you have to, if there's changes, you have to add in the FICA, Medicare, anything that we have to put out, because when we pay someone a salary, we're really paying a lot more than the salary.
Of course.
So we're requiring department heads to come to us with the full amount of the package.
Okay.
So. Okay.
And I wasn't sure.
How close is she becoming a level 1 or 2?
She was scheduled today to take a level 1, and that got changed and postponed to February 23rd. So February 23rd, the level 1 exam is offered in Warsaw. March 16th, it's offered in Indy.
Okay. Okay.
So you can do them both the same day. They will allow you that, but you still only have that 5-hour window to take the exam if you do them one or you do them both at the same time.
Yeah, you might as well do that 2 times, not try to squeeze it in 5 hours.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for is a favorable pass on this change of positions.
On the, you're talking about the the temporary chief deputy position?
Yeah, you've got the temporary chief deputy, and then we have,
Well, it'd be just a regular temporary regular deputy position.
which will become chief deputy once the level 1, level 2.
Yes.
Not quite sure on the verbiage, I'm sorry.
Just be a favorable pass to the council on this one.
On the information given to us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd take a motion, we give a favorable pass to the council on the information that Kim has provided to us.
Second.
And that she will provide tomorrow to them, right?
Yes.
Okay, we got a motion for a favorable pass to provide all the information given to us about the deputy assessor and the chief deputy positions.
Second.
Got a second? Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thanks, Kim.
Okay, thank you all.
Was at least stymied.
Right-of-way permits. Brandon not here, okay. Okay, the first one we have is a right-of-way permit, and it is for NIPSCO, East Business 30. Serve a customer at 2441 East Business 30 in Columbia City.
And Brandon has approved it.
Yeah. Move we approve it.
Second.
Got a motion to approve, got a second, further discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand, opposed, the same. Thank you.
Yeah, sign these about three
Probably
places.
3 times, I think. Say that 3 times fast.
Okay, the next one I have is from NIPSCO also. That's on East Business 30 and Governor's Road to serve a new customer at 1911 East Business 30, Columbia City.
Move we approve it.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a second? Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Duly noted that Brandon has approved that one also.
Right.
Well, then we gotta have some more copies here, Donald.
You got any more copies down there?
Oh, okay. Signature tab.
Just the one. That's one. I told Tom, say that fast 3 times.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 16th meeting.
Got a motion to approve the January 16th, 2018 meeting minutes.
Second.
Got a second. Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Did a good job on those.
I don't know if we've announced that Jana had a little girl.
No, I don't think we have. Want to announce?
Yeah, for those of you in the audience that are missing Jana, she's mother of a beautiful little baby girl. So she'll be back in about 10 weeks or so.
Sorry, remind me.
Maybe 9.
Okay, claims.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd make a motion, we approve the payroll claims.
Second.
Motion to approve payroll claims. You got a second? Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Secondly, I went through the claims this morning, found them pretty clean, about $470,000 in claims. I don't have much else to report on them. I guess I'd make a motion, we approve the claims.
Okay, motion to approve the claims.
Second.
Got a second? Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Angie,
Yes.
do you have anything?
2 requests for permission to use county facilities. The first one's from the Whitley County Master Gardeners, which was mentioned at the meeting on January 16th. They're just requesting to be able to use county parking for their garden at the Humane Shelter on June 23rd. Rain date of June 24th. I don't know if they put the rain date on there. They did not.
Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. And Brandon was okay with that.
Yeah.
So they want to park at the
Highway,
county
right.
highway? Oh, yeah.
They put a rain garden in at the Humane Shelter.
Oh,
So
isn't that
it's gonna be
nice?
garden wall.
They do such a tremendous
Move we
job.
approve it.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the garden walk parking in the highway grounds. Got a second? Further discussions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
That is a very dedicated group, and they do such a beautiful
Yeah,
job.
they do. Well, right at the courthouse there, they do.
No, isn't that something? Man alive.
The second request is from the Old Settlers Day Association for Old Settlers Day, which is Tuesday, June 24th through Saturday, June 30th of 2018.
Okay.
I'd make a motion, we approve the Old Settlers Day request.
Got a motion to approve Old Settlers Days request?
Second it. What all they wanted, just the usual, the whole courthouse. All right.
The grounds.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a motion, got a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Ralph Bailey
Yeah, isn't that
signed a
cool?
request.
You actually brought it in.
He's another amazing man. Amazing man.
That's it? Matt, did you have anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Tamara? Well, this is too easy. Commissioner?
Nothing.
I've just got a couple of things here. I've got one thing, we did get our request for the 90-day extension for the jail compliance to May 1st, 2018 from Chance Sweet from, who's the state jail inspector. So that was good news.
Well, is that not probably because you guys have got the task force going and it's not like we're not doing anything at all.
Right,
So-
right. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for us to
Yeah,
show
yeah.
that we're looking
Yeah.
forward to
I
taking care
congratulate
of
you
it.
on having that task force up and going.
Then, we talked about some kind of a policy. Mark Sturtevant came in and asked about a policy for the meeting rooms, and he brought something in from the library, and I'll just let you guys have copies of that too, to look over. But we don't have to make a decision right now, but I think we should probably, and it tells what's acceptable, what's not acceptable when they do sign up for our meeting rooms.
Okay. I move we table a decision on this to our next meeting when we have a chance to study this.
Second.
We got a motion to table, we got a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. Thank you.
I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just like to comment.
Yeah, we
I
need
want
to look
I want to
into
read
it.
through it.
Yep.
So,
I also got a letter from Region 3A Board of Directors for an appointment for their board from the commissioners. Even though we're not funding that, they're asking for a representative from Whitley County. I don't know if we want to try to figure that out right now or table that.
I would move our old appointee fill that position.
I'm going to just respectfully decline it. I don't, I would just hate being there, and everybody in the room knows you don't pay into it. You're the only one that doesn't pay into it. I just don't. It's a great bunch of people, and they probably wouldn't feel that way at all, but I'd feel that way, so.
Yeah.
Do you, would you be in favor of joining?
Oh, that's put me on the spot.
Well, that's right.
Well, I guess it's a public meeting, and we got press here and all.
But don't listen.
No, I have to sort of agree. I'm not sure what we get out of it when okay, it's going to be a bit of a history lesson, so just stay with me,
Well,
okay?
and the reason I put you on the spot,
Well,
because you sat on the board.
I did.
What better person
I did, no, but I
to
think...
explain this?
I think to explain it, I have to go back a ways, though. Reason 3A was a federal program started years ago. It was supposed to be, if you wanted a grant, you'd go to Region 3A, a grant for sewage or streets or a new fire truck or whatever. That was sort of the way to get to OCRA, Office of Community Rural Affairs.
Yeah, rural affairs, yeah.
And so it was, that's the way you got these grants. You went to Region 3A and they would guide you towards where, and they did the grant writing, and therefore they got the money for the grant writing. It's packed right in the fund. You didn't pay extra for that. And then during my tenure on the board, we had a couple of executive directors who did a very bad job because we're talking, I believe, 10 or 11 counties in this, and that regional director needed to, on a very regular basis, needed to go out and speak to the commissioners and the councilmen in every place, because that's where your money's coming from. Oh, by the way, the money we paid in was, it was a share of the grant. The big grant came from the EDA, I believe it is, out of Chicago. Is it? Do you think that's right, Matt?
That's a federal agency.
It's a federal agency. And so what we paid in, which was significant, $10,000, $11,000?
I think it's $13,000.
$13,000. That was our part of the grant, and then the feds kicked in the rest. So anyway, we had a couple of successive executive directors of the organization who, it was just frustrating. They just didn't do their job. And we weren't getting any requests, and we didn't know who to turn to. So in this county, quite frankly, we found a grant administrator that did a terrific job, still does do a terrific job. And actually, there's a couple of grant administrators now in this county. So we didn't quite have the same need as we had previously for Region 3A. And I'm not throwing the council under the bus, but the fact remains, they said, we don't feel like we want to be funding this program. So at that point in time, then I resigned from the board of directors, because just like now, I can't go to those meetings knowing we're not financially involved like everybody else. So that's kind of the quick history lesson on Region 3A. So I respectfully decline the opportunity to serve again.
A couple of additions to that, too, is they helped us with our tax abatements. And then
That's big, yep.
it was, then we've got a EDC director that is an ex-attorney, so that.
Yeah, we just
haven't
sort
really
of
needed it.
don't really have the same need that we used to have. So I wasn't really upset about not belonging or paying anymore. That 11,000 or 13 can go to better places. So.
And that was being paid by redevelopment.
That really was. It was being paid by redevelopment. Yes, it was.
And with that being said, there's some neighboring counties without grant writing people on board that have gotten money for, small communities have gotten money for projects.
I can just tell you one real quick. Andrews, Indiana. Andrews, Indiana uses Region 3A, and they have done a lot of projects, but it's sort of because they don't have too much competition. So there's nobody else they can go to. So it is great. There's been some towns that it's been great for, but I'm sorry, I don't see us in that program anymore.
But I agree, we just don't seem to have the need up here.
I feel the same way about the other board. So the application for director you can have back, George.
Okay, we'll just do no action on that at this time. Okay, the only other thing I had was just wanted to make everyone aware that with our trust fund now, and the health insurance trust fund is up to $323,000.
That's great.
Finally getting it built up again. What I'd like to do is I'd like approval from the commissioners to be able to take the $100,000 that's available from seeded monies plus $150,000 from this ending balance to pay off the health insurance loan that we have.
Is he still on the loan?
Yeah, I think he and I both.
I don't know if I'll make a motion or not. He can pay for it. I'll make a motion that we use $100,000 from this fund and $150. Do I have it backwards?
Backwards.
Okay, $150,000 from the trust fund and $100,000 from seeded fund, and pay off that loan. Get rid of it.
Okay, we've got a motion.
I'll second it.
Got a second discussion?
One less loan I have. You feel comfortable with the right mix at 100 and 150?
Yes, yeah. We, at $150,000, that'll leave us $173,000 left in the trust fund, and that's more than enough. We usually
2, 3, 4 years ago, we were down to $20,000.
Yeah.
It was dip and tuck.
And what we normally do the next time that we see that balance go up again, what we do is we'll pay our payments out of the trust fund.
Yep, make the payments out of the trust fund. Yep.
Okay, any further discussion?
No, but other than to maybe help thank the employees, they kind of control this.
Yep.
The employees kind of control it. After all, this is their insurance policy, and it's obvious they're not abusing the policy at all. So I really thank the Whitley County government employees that are on the program. So where are we at? Are we ready?
Okay, ready for the vote.
Okay.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. And I'll bring that to council in the morning then.
Yeah, thanks.
And that's all I have right now. Anyone from the public have anything? Sonia?
Come right up. Yeah, so we can all hear.
Do I need to state my name or anything, or just? I'm
If
just
you would,
chatting.
please.
Okay, Sonia Emmerich, 5865 East State Road 14, Columbia City, Indiana. I'm just here, I've been a part of attending the Code Committee meetings for, I believe I've had a perfect attendance. I am not a member of the Code Committee. I am observing them as a citizen, Whitley County citizen. I have great concern about something that's come up several times at the meetings, and I've expressed it to a few people in the meetings. And I would like to let you know that during those meetings, several times it's come up that the issue of foreign entities. And it's my understanding that the Code Committee is there to write code for Whitley County. And I don't understand why the foreign entities are coming up so often. There was a survey that was written by the chairman of the Code Committee and circulated among the Code Committee and anybody in attendance that day from the public. It was left for a few meetings, and then it has come back at the last meeting that was held just last Thursday. And again, it was brought up. Do we want to, he said from that survey that we seem to, as a group, to agree mostly on that point of the foreign entity, and started talking about it. I did speak up from the back and asked if it was legal. I didn't get a reply, and that's fine. But I would like to know, is it legal for Whitley County to make a code or to make a recommendation for a code against foreign entities in our county? A quick search showed that in northeastern Indiana, there are 60 foreign-owned businesses, 17 different countries represented in that. In Whitley County alone, we have 5 different countries represented in ownership and businesses. Those 5 countries would be Sweden, the UK, Canada, Germany, South Korea. And I just want to understand, is that committee being led by the chairman to look at whether or not foreign entities can come into Whitley County and if they're going to be treated any different than any other company? And that is a great concern to me, and the legal ramifications of that. And then as we write this code, and the backside of the code that they're working on is residential code. What does that look like?
Luckily, we had our counsel with us during that meeting, so I'll kind of turn it over to Matt on that.
Yeah, and Sonia, you and I talked about it a little bit, but I don't know exactly. I mean, I haven't seen what they're talking about. I was sitting next to you, obviously, when they brought it up. I'm not sure exactly what it is they're trying to do, but in essence, the idea of an ordinance that says, you know, a Chinese-owned company can't come to Whitley County, you know, as I mentioned at the meeting, I don't think that's legal, and that's not going to happen. But I'm not sure if, I mean, that seems kind of obvious on its face, so I'm not really sure what it is they're talking about.
Right, and that's my concern. It is very obvious, so why is it happening? And also the survey, from what I was told, was posted online. So anybody who wants to look at this, and it's the last question on the survey, and I did fill out the survey as a attender of the meeting, and I know I circled it, and I questioned it from day one. But it says, if a foreign entity came in and started putting up CFOs, what guarantee would the community want? Not if our friends down the street did, but if a foreign entity did, they'd be treated differently? What is that saying? And then the way it came, and then the other issue with the whole entire survey that I had, the leading questions and also the leading answers you had to choose from. You couldn't write on your own opinion. It was a multiple choice. So you could either, do 1, 2, or 3. Well, I know on that survey there were several things that I just said, none of these And so I'm just wondering about the reality of the survey, the professionalism of the survey, and it was, from my understanding, made by and distributed by the chairman, who is a member of the Plan Commission. He's an appointed member. He's not a voted-on member. And I just look at the work that the EDC has done, the work that I know has happened in Whitley County to draw amazing jobs, amazing companies to this area, and a lot of them have foreign roots and foreign, we are a global economy. And I have great concern about how that's being ran, how it's being handled, and if that committee is there to write code, then why aren't they writing code? Why are they doing this?
Ultimately, before anything gets approved, the commissioners have to approve it. And
I understand that, but you're wasting a lot of people's time talking about a lot of things that don't have code. And if it's illegal to do this, why are we even entertaining it? And why are we posting it on our government website, the results of a survey that is so blatantly, to me, discriminatory? And it concerns me greatly. I don't know if we've had, lessons lately for our elected officials or appointed officials to go through what type of sensitivity they should have, but, is it, I don't understand why this conversation is happening in this day and age at that level of a meeting.
I think as commissioners, I don't think that we were aware that they were talking about things like that. I hadn't known that
I
at
am
the
not
time.
blaming anybody.
Yeah.
I'm asking. I'm just
I
asking
just heard about it
questions.
this morning, and I just think it's ludicrous. I
Thank
think it's just one of the goofiest things I've ever heard of.
I do too, and
So-
I would recommend that maybe the chairman step down, become a regular committee person.
That's not our bailiwick.
And, okay, well, and then your paid, Nathan, the paid Plan Commission Director, maybe take over the group and run it because he is an employee of the county rather than somebody who's been appointed.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add to that?
No, not at this time, but I appreciate bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
I got nothing.
Okay. Anyone else?
Motion?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Thank you, everyone.
Now I get to go buy my wife an oven and a